Look at this, folks. We are on a hydrogen power boat and we're just leaving the Cannes Yachting Festival to go out for a drive. Do you hear that? No, I don't hear it either. It's absolutely silent.
Jetzt dürfen wir auf ein ca. 120 Kilo schweres Elektroboot fahren und angeblich macht es richtig Spaß. Schauen wir, was passiert. This film was so much fun to make and I hope you enjoy watching it as well, because this film really is all about how to have fun on the water. Now it doesn't matter whether you talk about cars, whether you talk about trucks, aeroplanes or boats. There's a debate been going on and it's been going on now for like over 30 years at least. And it's the question about whether the future of propulsion is going to be battery electric powered or whether we're going to be relying on hydrogen to replace carbon fuels in the future. Now, the good news is there's lots of different companies that are trying different approaches to propel us across the water using these two technologies. There's some really interesting things happening there. And we were lucky enough to catch up with two different companies. We met with Kaebon, who are a German startup. They've got an incredibly lightweight battery electric powered boat. A lot of fun to be on that. And we're comparing them today in this film with Dhamma Blue, one of the first ever boats to propel itself with hydrogen energy. And we met up and both companies have got really exciting products. I can heavily recommend both of them, but have a look at the film and see which one you would prefer to drive. Let us know in the comments what you think later on as you hear the information. So of course, if we want to ask the question whether battery electric is the better future for us or whether hydrogen is the right fuel to take us into the future of green technology, then we certainly need to talk about performance. How fast do the boats go? How far do they get us? Well, the good news is if we talk about electric power, electric motors, then you're always going to have more torque than a diesel or a petrol engine. Now, if you look at some of the absolutely huge outboard motors, often two of them that are stuck on the back of some of the smallest fun boats, then you have to ask yourself the question, do we really need that much power to get across the water? Sure, there will be some, use cases where you will need that, for instance, for saving people at sea. But when we talk about people like you and me who are just having fun on a Saturday, then do we really need that much power? Well, the good news is if you have an electric motor, you can have pretty much the same amount of power. You can get pretty far and you can also do it all with a good conscience. Let's hear the details.
At 8 knots right now, we will reach 20 knots per.
With the top speed is 28 knots,
Yeah.
so you won't go up to 45, 50.
Yeah.
It's a little bit crazy.
It's like a
But
140 kilowatt motor or something, right?
140 kilowatts, yeah.
140,
that's,
wow.
190 horsepower equivalent, something like that. The cruising speed is about 13 knots.
Yeah.
And at that speed you can do up to 65 miles, more or less.
Yeah.
And that's where we have a big differentiation from an electric boat.
Yeah.
Okay, the electric boats, depending of course on the configuration.
Okay, Thorsten,
Ja,
jetzt geht's los.
dann fahren wir mal ein bisschen, oder?
Ich bin gespannt.
Los geht's.
Die langsamste Geschwindigkeit mit dem kleinsten Antrieb von 1,6 km/h fahren wir 12 km/h, also 1,6 Kilowattstunden Antriebsleistung. Ein sehr kleiner Motor machen wir 12 km/h. Und mit dem nächsten Größe machen wir mit 4,3 machen wir schon 18 km/h. Und dann geht es rauf 28 km/h. Dann haben wir 38 km/h. Ja, und verrückt kann es auch werden. 70 km/h Version bieten wir auch an.
Das macht so viel Spaß. Das macht so viel Spaß. Ja. 70 km/h, das ist natürlich eine Nummer, aber realistisch, also die meisten Leute, die mit so einem Boot unterwegs sind, also welche Geschwindigkeiten wird man dann normal fahren mit sowas, um Spaß zu haben, also nicht einfach nur um schnell mal zum Restaurant zu fahren auf dem Wasser, aber wenn man richtig, sag mal, Spaß fahren will, wie schnell wird man üblicherweise fahren?
Also ganz ehrlich, die ganze Bandbreite gibt es. Du kannst mit diesem Boot sehr langsam fahren, weil wir darauf geachtet haben, bei der Konstruktion, dass es einen sehr guten geraden Auslauf hat. Jeder kennt das beim Motorboot, Elektroboot, überhaupt Booten, dass es so eiert, wenn man langsam fährt, weil man keine richtige Anströmung hat an Propeller, an die Maschine und der Rumpf und ähnliches. Und hier in diesem Boot haben wir sehr darauf geachtet, das ist sehr betont im Kiel, so dass dieses Boot in einer langsamen Geschwindigkeit wahnsinnig geradeaus fährt.
Jeder, der aussteigt, sagt, oh, Erwartung übertroffen.
Okay.
Und das erlebe ich jedes Mal und das macht natürlich besonders viel Spaß.
Also wir haben bei den 12 Kilowattstunden haben wir ausgiebige Tests gemacht. Da fahren wir mit 10 km/h fahren wir 10 Stunden.
Boah.
Wir brauchen 1 Kilowattstunde bei 10 km/h. Wir haben nicht alles durchgetestet bisher, aber es sind etwa 60 Kilometer bei 14 Knoten Speed.
Now, I promised you this was going to be a fun film, and the great thing is that both of these boat manufacturers have been doing some really fun things with the boats. I wouldn't call them secret weapons, but they've certainly got a really great way and a different approach on how you can actually have a lot of fun on the water in a way that I think outperforms a lot of the stuff we've seen in the past.
The motor is very strong, so the way the electric motor develops, delivers the power is quite different to a diesel one. So it delivers maximum force and with a little bit revs. So it's the instant power is
straight there,
amazing.
Which is important for a powerboat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People were always wondering if we could do water skiing, and we proved them 1 month ago in a lake in the north of Italy. That is perfect for water skiing.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, because you're just waiting there, and in a couple of seconds you are planning.
Für mich ist es tatsächlich ein Gamechanger auf dem Wasser. Also wir merken immer, Elektroboote, da heißt es immer, naja, langsam fahren, das kann ja jeder. Aber Kaebon hat es geschafft, tatsächlich auch mit kleinem Antrieb schnell zu fahren und damit halt auch Verbrennerfahrer zu aktivieren.
Okay.
Das ist für Elektroboote immer relativ schwer, weil die Verbrennerfahrer, die erwarten ja deutlich mehr als das, was normale kleine Elektroantriebe leisten können.
Unser Hauptziel ist, dass wir Active Hydrofoiling anbieten.
Okay.
Also dieses Boot kann man auch erwerben in einer Hydrofoiling-Geschichte. Also wie die Surfer oder die Kiter oder am Gardasee diese Speedboote auf Foiling, das bieten wir bei diesem Boot an. Und da haben wir einen Computer, der das steuert und man muss nichts wissen, lernen, Schub geben, also kein Gas. Gas geben ja die Motorbootfahrer.
Ja.
Wir geben Schub und dann hebt dieses Boot ab ungefähr 5 Knoten Geschwindigkeit und dann werden wir effizient. Da fahren wir den Bodensee wir haben es noch nicht zu Ende testen können jetzt, aber den Bodensee schaffen wir eine Strecke mit ungefähr 14 Knoten, müssten es sein, ca. 60 Kilometer. Wir fliegen tatsächlich auf einen Flügel wie ein Flugzeug unter Wasser und haben Flaps hinten dran und die werden mit 100 Hertz, also ungefähr mit einem Wimpernschlag, verstellen wir diese Foils um 10 Grad. Das heißt, wir nutzen den kompletten Auftrieb der Flügel, der Flächen, wie es beim Flugzeug man kennt. No? Und durch diese aktive Verstellung mit 2 GPS, mit Sensorik, mit Beschleunigungssensor, Kompass, also ist eine mega aufwendige und komplizierte Sache. Und das regeln wir mit unserem Partner Ocean Flight, mit einer Software, mit einem wahnsinnig gut programmierten Algorithmen, steuern wir alle Schwierigkeiten, alle Wellen, alle Bewegungen komplett aus. Du schwebst wie auf einen Teppich. Es ist erhaben, es ist majestätisch.
I will generally find boats beautiful. Sure, there's some ugly ones, I know, but most boats are really great things that you'd love to look at. And I think that Kaebon and also Dhamma Blue have done a fantastic job making a boat that doesn't just perform under the water, but also looks great on top of the water. If we compare those two technologies, well, we look at Kaebon and we see a boat with 4 places to sit. It's a great way to come across the water. It's a great way to have fun. It's also a great way to get from A to B in a way that you're really going to enjoy. But it's a fun boat for 4 people to sit inside or to transport themselves, for instance, to go for a nice meal at the other side of the lake, like many people do where I live. If we then look at Dhamma Blue, well, that's more of a day boat, you would call it. It's something that you're maybe going to take out. You are going to use it to transport people, yes, but it also has other facilities on board which are going to make it a lot of fun for you to drive to some cove and enjoy the day in the sun. And if I just look here, I can see there's like a cover to get inside. Is this,
Yes,
there's like actually a bunk in there as well?
We have a cabin in on the inside.
That's larger than I expected, okay.
Yeah, it takes you can do some power naps there.
Yeah.
Then we have a solarium in the front.
Okay.
So you can enjoy when you are out on the water anchored, you can lay there. We have a very big solarium also in the back and a very open layout, which is one of the things we like the most about it, because it's a very comfortable boat to use. That we wanted not only to rely on the change of technology, but also to offer an attractive and comfortable boat for the users.
Das Design, also das ist ein Hingucker. Im Hafen hat man garantiert immer Leute, die das gerne anschauen.
So now we've heard those pretty impressive statistics, especially for these emerging technologies, but we've heard about the performance of the boat. Now we need to talk about what happens after it's performed. How do we recharge the boat? How do we recharge the batteries? And how do we refill a hydrogen tank? Now, it was interesting in this film for me to find out that just like when you drive an electric vehicle, the last 10 to 20% of the charge of the batteries is the hardest thing to do. Well, it's a similar thing as well when we talk about hydrogen, and Carlos is going to tell us all about that. How long would it take to actually load a hydrogen boat? I mean, how many litres of hydrogen do you have in here? It's gaseous hydrogen, if I understood?
We have a 350-liter tank, which is very big. Yeah. But people usually are surprised because we only carry 8 kilos of hydrogen.
8 kilos is 350 because it's a gas, right?
It's a gas, exactly. And the thing is, hydrogen is the less dense material in the universe. So you need to compress it a lot to get enough amount of mass inside the tank. The problem we face usually is that we do a refilling 20 minutes more or less. Then the tank gets heat up to 45 degrees, something like that. And when it cools down, it loses pressure. Yeah, of course. Okay. So to get 100% fill of the tank is the tricky part. I see. Okay. I understand. So maybe we can fill it. And the morning after, we are at 90%.
Sure, I get that. Yeah.
There is a lot of stations that have a chiller, so they cool down to very low levels the hydrogen before putting into the tank. So when it raises the temperature, it gets to an ambient temperature. So then you don't have that problem anymore.
And I know a lot of people are going to ask you questions about what about the infrastructure, but to be honest, for me, that's the smallest problem, because the great thing about hydrogen is you can produce it pretty much anywhere, right?
Yeah, that's a typical question. So it's the chicken and the egg. So if you don't have a demand, you don't have reasons to develop the infrastructure. If you don't have the infrastructure, you have difficulty to deliver the demand, right? So what we are doing at Dhamma Blue is working together with the station manufacturers and with the hydrogen producers. So we can help the early adopters to get a whole package. The good thing right now, what we observe is that the first applications for the infrastructure will be mostly mobile stations. So there are a lot of station developers that they are already putting them into on a trailer, so they can bring it around.
Also, ich glaube, ihr habt 2 Boote im Programm, diese hier und ein zweites, der nächstes Jahr auf den Markt kommt. Aber wenn wir bei diesem Boot bleiben, also was kostet es zum Laden?
Also wenn wir jetzt zum Beispiel mal die 12 Kilowatt Variante bei uns nehmen mit 10 Kilowattstunden Batterie, dann sind es ungefähr je nach Steg, je nach Hafen, und ob man den Strom auch bezahlen muss, weil viele können ja derzeit noch gar nicht abrechnen. Also sprich, der Stegstrom in normalen Häfen wird nicht berechnet, der ist im Liegeplatz mit drin. Also liegst du ungefähr so bei 3,20 €, 3,50 €, 4 €.
I hope you enjoyed all of this. Now listen, if you've got some questions that you would like Dhamma Blue or Kaebon to answer, please put them in the comments below. If you're maybe working for a different boat manufacturer that has a different startup technology or a different take on battery electric and hydrogen, please get in contact with us. We would love to be in a dialogue with you guys as well. We're also thinking about doing some kind of challenge, maybe a race or some other kind of competition at the Lake Constance, where I live over here on the Swiss-German border. Would you like to see Kaebon and also Dhamma Blue to be there for that challenge? Or do you have a different sustainable boat that you'd like to bring along and join into that race? We would love to hear your comments, so please do get in contact with us. Do write your questions down there. We will make sure that Dhamma Blue and Kaebon answer all the questions that you have. And on top of everything else, please do subscribe to our channel. We're doing this to try and prove to the world that there's a fantastic green future out there, and we can let go of the diesel and petrol stinky past that we can leave behind us. Thanks so much for watching. We really do appreciate everyone that's tuning in all the time. We do appreciate everyone that subscribes and everyone that comments and shares. Thank you so much for all you're doing.